There we are. Welcome to Mary Walter Radio. How are you? It's great to see everybody. Hello, work husband. How are you?
Work wife, hello. I'm good.
Just good to see you.
You
You
too?
look good. You look good. You sound good.
Thank you, thank
Welcome,
you.
everybody. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can leave your comments, bring them up on the screen over on Getter. Scott says hi. I cannot bring the Getter comments up onto the screen. I don't know why it doesn't work, but it doesn't. There's no
Madness.
crossover. But the YouTube ones we can bring up on the screen and we can read them so that if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, you get to hear the comments even though you can't see them, especially if you're like listening while you're driving. We wouldn't want you looking at a
Huh.
screen. Please go back and look at some of the older previous podcasts as well. James Rosen, Alan West, Cal Thomas, Sean Spicer, Rob Carson. Who else am I missing? Anybody else? Christine Flowers, Bobby Barack. So, and of course, us. We're here as well.
Hey, how do I look? Is my lighting okay?
Yeah, your lighting's good. You got a bright light behind you.
Yeah, and I can't do
And
much about that because I'm at work, but I had my light with me. I brought my light to work.
yeah.
And it worked. And then
Oh,
today it didn't. And I was going, I wonder why it didn't work. And now I can't find it, but on here there's a giant chew mark, what I can only guess is a small land rodent, one of many that live in my house.
I really wish Tina wouldn't chew on your stuff.
Oh, there it is. There's my nice little thing. If I can notice that little thing in the thing.
Yeah.
Nice and chewed.
Yeah.
Right through. Yeah. Right
Well,
through the power.
you invite rodents into your house and feed them what you expect. Scott says, I heard you shuffle. Yeah, well, James makes a lot of noise before he comes on the air. He can't help
I
it.
do. I can't help it now.
He can't help it. I mute his microphone and everything, but I got to unmute it like the last 5 seconds. And he's either telling Tina to be quiet or he's shuffling something. It's just the way it is. But you are much clearer than last week. So a lot to talk about. So one of the first things I want to do, I just want to go into what's going on with oh wait, hold on, turn that off. Why will that stop it? I'm just trying to make it bigger. Let me try to make this bigger. Oh, full screen. That's what I have to do. I have to go to full screen. Okay. So let me just pull this back. So what I want to do is go into the let me see, share screen. Window, that one. Okay. So what's happening with Chuck Grassley and everything? And I don't know if you saw the announcement last night with Chuck Grassley. Did you see that, James?
I
Where
did not.
where he came out talking about the Biden the audio tapes that supposedly exist?
Oh, I love to hear those. Audio tapes make me
Okay.
so happy.
Well, we can't hear them because the FBI refuses to share them. They refuse to even acknowledge if they have them or not because they are protecting the Bidens, right?
Sure.
And so this is Ted Cruz going after them. But let me pull up first. Let me explain to you what's going on. Bill says, hello, Queen. Queen's Raiders here. The music here is better than what's on today's radio. That's the free stuff we get to use. That's what that is. So I'm wishing that James Band would make some more, but they have not.
I'm so close to. I'm like. Actually, I'll tell you later. I just had the inspiration for how to finish this.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
All
After,
right.
yeah.
All right. So, oh, and hello to Zach and our biggest fan, and Evie, who does all of our graphics, who is amazing. So, hello to you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me give you like a Reader's Digest version. So, according to Fox News Digital, they've been talking to people who are familiar with this form, the FD 1023 that you keep hearing about. And FD 1023 is a form that's filled out if someone comes to the FBI and goes, hey, I know stuff. And they take
Right.
the report. It may not be true. It may be true. It may not be true. They investigate. They don't investigate. They do what they do. So the person who came to them this time is a confidential human source who has been on the FBI payroll for decades, and the FBI pays something like $200,000 a year, something like that, 6 figures, right? They're paying this person. And so they are someone who they have trust in, who has been vetted, who they've used on many, many times. And this person is a legit. Who are you talking to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to turn my phone off. Go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
so I thought it was you were talking to somebody. So anyway, so they have this confidential. So this person is trusted. This is not like Christopher Steele who comes to them with, "I got a bunch of hooey." This person is someone that they know that they've been paying for a long time.
Right.
Okay, so sources who are familiar with this FD 1023 form, which by the way is not classified. Okay,
Right.
not classified. They told Fox News Digital that the confidential human source, the CHS, told the FBI that a Burisma executive was speaking with them, with the confidential human source, to quote, get advice on the best way to go forward back in 2015 and 2016 in gaining U.S. oil rights and getting involved with a U.S. oil company. That's what they wanted to do because they were an oil company in Ukraine and they wanted to get in on America's oil. Right, that's what they wanted to do. According to the form, the CHS, the confidential human source that the FBI knows, said the executive discussed Hunter's role on the board. Remember, Burisma was paying Hunter Biden a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars a month, to sit on this board because of his wealth of knowledge of mining and oil drilling and things like that.
He's
Okay.
very, very, yeah, very, very good there.
The confidential human source said to the Burisma executive, questioned why this executive needed the source's advice, his or her advice,
Sure.
in acquiring access to U.S. oil if Hunter Biden is on the board. Well, that seems like a legitimate question, right? And the executive answered by referring to Hunter Biden as dumb. Now, this executive apparently hired Hunter Biden. We think hired Hunter Biden. We don't know. But Hunter Biden's on the board. Why would they be paying Hunter Biden so much money if Hunter Biden is dumb?
Right. Maybe his vast experience just wasn't enough. I don't know. Tough.
It's weird. The executive explained to the confidential human source that Burisma, quote, had to pay the Bidens because Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin was investigating Burisma and explained how difficult it would be to enter the U.S. market in the midst of an investigation. So in other words, my company is being investigated by this guy, Viktor Shokin. I got Hunter on the board. I got to try to get into the U.S. market now, because if this investigation goes forward, we're never going to get into the U.S. market. So I need your help, saying this to the confidential human source. And then the source further detailed to the FBI on this form, detailed the conversation and suggested to the executive from Burisma that he, quote, pay the Bidens $50,000 each. Just pay them. And the Burisma executive replied, oh, it's not 50,000, it's 5 million.
Just a little bigger.
Quote, 5 million for one Biden, 5 million for the other Biden, the Burisma executive told the confidential human source. And again, this is according to another party, a third person who is familiar with this form and is speaking, on the down low to Fox News Digital.
Gotcha.
Now, if this were the other way around and this was a Republican president, all of this would have been leaked out already, right? But because it's the Bidens and we're protecting the Bidens, it's not out. So, according to the document, the $5 million payments appeared to reference a kind of, quote, retainer that Burisma intended to pay the Bidens to deal with a number of issues, including the investigation into them by Viktor Shokin. They were like, hey, could you take care of this guy for me? Kind of like a mobster. You make this guy go away? You make this investigation go away? I'll pay you.
That's what rich people do.
Yeah. The confidential source said the Burisma executive, the sources that they believe that the confidential human source believes that the $5 million payment to Joe Biden and the $5 million payment to Hunter Biden. Now that's new. We didn't know which one of the Bidens. We were just told it was 5 million to one Biden, 5 million to another. This is saying 5 million to Hunter, 5 million to Joe. That those payments did occur. So they did occur based on the conversation that the informant had with the Burisma executive. All right.
So it would be on their taxes somewhere, right?
Of course, right? Did they declare this? That's a good question, James.
Right.
The confidential source. Now, the confidential source said that the Burisma executive told him that he, quote, paid the Bidens as such a manner, quote, through so many different bank accounts, unquote, that investigators would not be able to, quote, unravel this for at least 10 years. So remember Tony, who was Tony Bobolinsky, said that they had all these different accounts, and James Comer, remember some of the SARS, some of the suspicious activity reports, was the money was going from here to here. There was a bank like in the Caymans or an island, and from there it went to like a bunch of different other places, and those places paid these. So that's what they did in order to not be able to have a money trail. It would be very, very difficult to unravel the money trail.
Right, you have to have an honest investigation.
Right. So they knew what they were doing was wrong, obviously.
Right.
But the question keeps remaining. Okay, so Joe Biden's been a public servant his entire career. How is he such a multimillionaire?
Right. Well,
How did that
engagements.
Yeah. Well, those speaking engagements should all be accounted for. So we should know that money, but does it equal, the millions that he clearly has?
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay. The document then makes reference to, quote, the big guy, which we've heard about before, and according to the executive, references Joe Biden. The executive told the confidential source that, quote, he didn't pay the big guy directly. So that's the second or third time we've heard reference to the big guy. Now, the source talking to Fox said that the Burisma executive appears to be at, quote, a very, very high level of the company. And one source familiar with this suggested that the confidential source could be the head of Burisma, Mykola Zlochevsky. But the name of the Burisma executive is redacted in the document.
Right.
Now, Biden has acknowledged that when he was vice president. Now, remember, this is a famous video that Trump referred to when they were going after him for the second indictment with the quid pro quo, and he kept calling it quid pro Joe. Because remember, Joe Biden's on video standing up at an event, bragging that he told Ukraine that we were going to withhold $1 billion from them if they didn't get rid of that crooked prosecutor. And son of a gun, 8 hours later, he was fired, right? Like he was so proud of it. Well, apparently, according to the executive, that Biden successfully pressured Ukraine to fire that prosecutor, which we know happened, Viktor Shokin. Biden bragged about it. And at the time, Shokin was investigating the company that his son, Hunter, was sitting on the board of. So
it feels like a lot of coincidence.
We know all of that happened. Biden talked about it, and it's on video. Go to YouTube. It's right there. Anybody can find it. The confidential source said that, according to sources familiar with the form again, told the Burisma executive he should, quote, get away from the Bidens, and said that the executive, he said, you do not want to be involved with them. The confidential human source goes on to detail a later conversation with that same Burisma executive following the 2016 presidential election. And he asked the Burisma executive if he was upset that Donald Trump won. And the executive told the confidential source that the confidential source was an oracle, and with his advice to get away from the Bidens due to fears of potential investigations into their dealings. All right. So we know all of that. Now, we also know that the FBI said a whistleblower came forward and said that this form, this 1023 form exists that has all this information on it. And the FBI has been sitting on this since about 2017 at least, and haven't done anything with it. And they never turned it over to Congress. They never investigated it. They've done nothing. They've been hiding it to protect the Bidens. So we now know that they denied having it. Then we know that House Oversight Committee threatened to hold Christopher Wray in contempt if he didn't turn it over. And they stonewalled. They said, that's it. Come in because we're holding you in contempt. Game's over. And suddenly they're like, okay, we got it. Huh. All right, we'll show it to you. But we're only going to show it to you in a secure SCIF. We're going to show it to you. And they're like, but it's unclassified. But they don't want to hand it over, and they don't want the American public to be able to see it. And they want it in a secure SCIF scene, because then you can't take it out. You can't take pictures. You can't do anything else. You can't take notes while you're in there. You can take notes when you come out.
Right.
Okay. So that's where we are. So there was a hearing today with the Senate. not the House, with the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
And Ted Cruz is talking to the FBI, Abbate, the director of the FBI, the deputy director of the FBI, Abbate. I think it's Peter Abbate. All right,
Okay.
and he's talking to him, and it gets heated. I'll play it in 2 seconds, but first, Shore Essentials. Jerry says, so those payments did occur, and son of a bitch, the prosecutor got fired, exactly like Joe Biden is saying on video.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry says, Republicans are dragging their feet. It's so annoying. They keep letting the FBI call the shots and not release all of the documents that are subpoenaed. You're right. Sherry says, where is Mitch McConnell? And that's a great question. Mitch McConnell will not even say Donald Trump's name in public because Mitch McConnell is a creature of the swamp. And Mitch McConnell doesn't like Donald Trump, so he is perfectly happy with the FBI and the DOJ doing his dirty work for him.
Well,
that's just my humble opinion.
I think, forget that part of it. I think he doesn't want the FBI opening an investigation into what he's probably been doing all these years. He's part of the swamp. I mean, I'm sure.
Yes.
He's pretty rich, by the way. He's pretty rich.
Well, he married into a ton of money, though.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, his wife is an Asian shipping company. I mean, like not her personally. She's not the shipping company,
but
her family's in that.
Makes that real above board.
I wouldn't be surprised, but he hates Donald Trump,
Yeah.
probably for the reason you're talking about. Donald Trump was going to blow up the game in the swamp, and they were quite happy with the gravy train.
Notice he's not going after Biden.
Right. Exactly. You know, and may I say,
that can of worms.
the only, Tim Scott is now turning on Donald Trump, saying, well, this looks bad. And Nikki Haley is now turning. The one who has not turned, Vivek Ramaswamy. He was out on the courthouse steps before Trump got there, talking about what a political prosecution this is. And he said if he becomes president, he will pardon Donald Trump, etc. And everybody else is starting to turn on him. And the Republicans need to stand together and stand strong, because what's happening is a political prosecution. And if they don't think it's going to happen to them, does Ron DeSantis honestly think that if he gets the nomination, they're not going to do this to him? Really? Because they are.
More people in the swamp than you think.
Well, I've said we should start a pool and take money to find out. So if Ron DeSantis gets the nomination, will his made up sexual assault accuser be somebody from high school he barely knew, somebody from college he didn't know at all, or someone from when he was in the military? What do you think?
I'm going to go military. But yes. Yeah. No, I got you. Yeah.
Queens Raiders, McConnell needs to go. Yes. Sherry, that's the problem. The Democrats always play the long game and stick together no matter what. You are 100% right. So let me just play this. It's 6 minutes, but it's really worth it. And it's Ted Cruz going after the deputy director of the FBI today in the Senate Judiciary Committee, on what's going on, because Chuck Grassley came out. Oh, I forgot this part. So Chuck Grassley last night, and I wasn't going to play the Chuck Grassley audio because it's 9 minutes long. So let me just basically tell you what he said. That allegedly, Chuck Grassley said last night on the Senate floor that the Burisma executive that we've been talking about, who allegedly paid Joe and Hunter Biden, made 17 audio recordings of his conversations with them as, quote, an insurance policy. Yeah. Apparently, he made 2 recordings with Joe Biden and 15 recordings with Hunter Biden. Now, this is the first we're hearing of this. Now, remember, Chuck Grassley and James Comer saw the 1023 with very minimal redactions. What was then shown to House oversight in the SCIF had a ton more redactions in it. And nobody knows why, because it is not a confidential form. It's not a classified document. So they should be able to see it. And it had more redactions than before. And I get, like, you want to protect the confidential human source, protect the identity, redact the identity, right? Like, okay, that's fine. But the FBI, when they don't want to show something, say, oh, people are going to get killed if we show you this. And so far, every time they've said that, it's been a lie. It's been BS. And things have been released and redacted and declassified, and everything's fine.
And real quick, where are those recordings? Those 17 recordings now?
As far as we know, the executive has them. The FBI executive, the Burisma executive has them.
Interesting.
As far as I know, I don't know.
Right? Yeah. No. I get it. No. Yeah. I'd love to hear those.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's the thing. The 1023 form has a redacted reference to the Burisma executive. Has a redacted reference that the Burisma executive possesses 15 audio recordings of the phone calls between himself and Hunter Biden. So that is on that 1023 form. That bit of evidence, that bit of knowledge is on the form. So the question is, okay, did they investigate any of those recordings to see if they were real? What did they do with them? According to Grassley, the 1023 also states that the executive possesses the 2 audio recordings of phone calls between himself and, at the time, Vice President Joe Biden. So that is known. They knew it was with the at the time Vice President, but they sat on this through the election to protect Joe Biden, because they wanted it. The same reason they said that the laptop was fake, because they wanted to protect Joe Biden, right? This is why they've been investigating Hunter Biden for 5 years on alleged tax fraud and whether he lied on a federal gun form. 5 years. They're slow walking it because they're trying to protect Hunter Biden. Jerry says, I'll take someone he didn't know but smiled for a photo with her in the 90s for the DeSantis pool. Someone he didn't know but smiled for a photo with her in the 90s. Yeah, as his sexual accuser, because you know that's coming. So let me bring this up. I'm going to play it for you. You can hear how whoops, let's see. I'm going to, no, that's not it. That didn't work, did it?
Now I'm little.
Yeah, now you're little. So let me go back to this. And now let me bring this up. All right, we'll do it that way. All right, so let me make sure you can hear this. And here's Ted Cruz with the Deputy Director of the FBI, Paul Abbate.
I don't hear it.
Do you hear?
Oh, okay. Apparently there's no volume coming through. I could hear him in my headset. James, could you hear him?
No, I was actually just typing that to you.
Okay, you couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
That's odd.
That's it. The screen's right there.
Well, let me just stop it.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to present.
It runs so smoothly.
You wanted to share screen.
I brought it up. Window.
Share tab. Wait, share tab.
It looked like it should have been playing audio too.
Yeah, it was playing audio. I could hear it. It's a window.
No, do Chrome tab.
Okay. Then hit the Facebook one. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, let's go back. Let me bring this back. And let's see if this works. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Let's see if you can hear this, James. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
Will you provide second recordings so we can assess what is the evidence, the specific credible evidence that Joe Biden personally took a $5 million bribe from a foreign national? If you are not, every one of you should be deeply concerned about the damage being done to the integrity of the institutions in which you operate. My office hears regularly from FBI agents and from assistant U.S. attorneys who are likewise concerned about the politicization and weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI, and this is profoundly damaging to the rule of law in our nation. Last month, a whistleblower brought to light the existence in the FBI of a report, an FD 1023, in which the informant alleges that President Biden and his family members engaged in a $5 million bribery scheme during his time as vice president. Deputy Director Abbate, is it true that the FBI has a report making those allegations?
I'm not going to comment on that, Senator.
And why is that?
I'm just not going to comment on information we received, investigations.
Do you owe an
ongoing matters.
obligation to the American people to be candid about evidence of corruption by the President of the United States?
This is an area that I'm not going to get into with you, Senator.
Well, I understand you don't want to, and that's why people are mad at the FBI, because you're stonewalling and covering up serious allegations of evidence of corruption from the president. Yesterday, Senator Chuck Grassley stood on the Senate floor and alleged that there are 17 recordings of this informant from Burisma, Ukrainian natural gas company. 15 of them are recordings, voice recordings of him talking to Hunter Biden. 2 of them are voice recordings of him talking to Joe Biden. Deputy Director Abbate, does the FBI have 17 voice recordings laying out evidence of a bribery scheme?
Senator, I would add also that we've worked with the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah, this is the Senate. We're the other side of the Capitol. This is the Senate. Do you have those 17 recordings?
I'm not going to comment on any investigative matters, Senator.
See, that's the problem. The FBI, and I've had this conversation with Chris Wray too, this is why you are damaging the institution. The American people have a right to know whether there is serious, credible evidence that the President of the United States took a $5 million bribe. And by the way, if it's false, Chairman Durbin just rolled his eyes. If Chairman Durbin were interested in the rule of law, we would have a hearing on these allegations. But of course, the Democrats don't want a hearing on these allegations. And to be clear, if the allegations are false, you know who could disprove them? Joe Biden. He could call for this to be released publicly. But the FBI is stonewalling. Would you agree?
Two things, Senator. No
Sure.
one's stonewalling. The 1023.
You just said you refused to answer the
was provided
question.
in response to a subpoena.
Okay,
to the
then why'd
House
you refuse
Oversight
to answer my
Committee.
question?
The pertinent information is there, and I reject your assertion that the
Why
FBI
did you
is
refuse to answer my
politicized.
question?
I just answered your question.
Okay, so yes, you have a 1023. Do you have the 17 recordings? Yes or no?
I'm not going to get further into that.
So you're stonewalling. You can't say I'm not refusing to answer your question, but I won't answer your question.
I'm going to answer within the parameters that we operate in. here.
That's the problem. The FBI has right now an unlimited hubris that you believe you are unaccountable. You don't believe you're accountable to the United States Congress, and you don't believe you're accountable to the American people. And you are doing damage. The FBI is a great institution. When I go home to Texas, people ask me, should we abolish the FBI? Now, I tell them no, because you have heroes and patriots working for you that are catching child predators, that are catching terrorists. But you're sitting there happily erecting a wall to protect Joe Biden. Will you provide to this committee, not the House, the Senate Judiciary Committee, will you provide the FD 1023 and will you provide the 17 recordings so we can assess what is the evidence, the specific credible evidence that Joe Biden personally took a $5 million bribe from a foreign national?
Senator, we will work with this committee, you and other members, to provide the information within the parameters of the process.
Will you provide the FD 1023? Yes or no?
I will take that back and we will work with our
So you're
team
not
to-
answering that. Will you provide the 17 recordings?
We will take that back and we'll work with you.
So
and
you're
your
not
staff.
answering that either. Did you investigate in any way, shape, or form these allegations?
Senator, once again, I'm not going to comment.
So
on
you're not going to say
investigative-
whether you did your job?
We do our job to the very best of our ability.
Well, not here. You're not answering a single question to the American people. And you may think this is esoteric. I promise you, millions of Americans are concerned. You know who isn't concerned? Not a single Senate Democrat. We're going to go through this whole hearing. Not one Democrat will ask a question about this. You know who else isn't concerned? The corporate media, who is joining with the Democrats in covering up this evidence. If Joe Biden is innocent, the evidence should be made public and demonstrate that he's innocent. But if he is not, is it true this informant who alleged that he personally took a bribe was an informant the FBI had relied upon previously in other investigations? Yes or no?
Senator, in each and every investigation that we have, all the work that we do,
I asked you
the
a yes or no
expectation
question.
is that every
I asked,
logical avenue investigation be pursued
I asked you a
to
yes
its
or no
fullest.
question. Are you going to answer it?
Yeah, I'm answering your question.
Was the informant one you had relied on previously in other investigations? Yes or no?
Senator, we run down every piece of information.
You're not answering it then. You're refusing to answer it. So you're refusing to answer the
To
question.
the fullest extent possible.
You're refusing to answer the question.
relentlessly,
Is that
and
correct?
aggressively in all instances.
Senator, your
It's
time is
disgraceful. It's disgraceful, Deputy Director Abbate. Disgraceful.
Senator, your time has expired.
So there you go. What'd you think?
I mean, he definitely learned how to do the parry, dodge, turn of answers, no doubt.
Yeah.
He walked himself right through that. This is the parameters I'm allowed to say. It is what it is. I mean, he did stick to that, kind of, stoically. Just, I got to do my job and done. Answer your question. Sorry. That was like his demeanor, right? Like it really was like, hey, I'm
100%. So Congress has oversight of the FBI and the DOJ, and they're operating like a fourth branch of government that is independent of every other branch of government and has zero accountability to anyone.
Well, I mean, how high what does a decision like this come from, right? Like, I don't think this guy's making the decision.
No.
It's got to be coming from higher than him. I mean,
of course, who do you think? First of all, I don't think Biden knew that they had any of this stuff initially. Right. And they were probably doing this because they could use this on Biden, right? They could use this to blackmail Biden. Yeah. Right? If you're going to be nefarious about it, they could. But who do you think gave NARA, the National Archives of Records Administration, the go-ahead to refer Donald Trump to the DOJ for prosecution? Who do you think signed off on that?
FBI.
No, had to be Joe Biden.
Oh, Joe Biden, of course. Yeah.
Had to be Biden.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
So Biden go, I have no hand in this. I'm not involved in this at all. It was a load of crap.
God, was it what was the I can't even think of the movie or the actor. Who made Hunt for Red October? You know what I'm talking about.
Patrick.
Patriot Games is I think the next one, or no, the third one, whatever. The one where they go to South America. There's a great scene when Harrison Ford comes back and has like everything to bury the president, right?
Right.
And the president's like, you're going to put that in your back pocket and you're going to save that for a rainy day. And I understand that's fiction, but it's fiction based off a guy who has a pretty good understanding of how government works. And I don't doubt for a minute presidents have some of that kind of power with people, right? You're the office of the greatest country on the planet, wield a pretty big stick. I think if you start saying like, hey man, put some stuff in your back pocket, that's going to be a favor for you later, some people answer, right? I mean, I mean, Biden, I'm just saying across the board, but I mean, particularly Biden now, he wields a big stick. He's the president of the United States. He gets to go to the highest levels of people and go, you don't really know anything, right?
Here's the thing. I don't think Biden wields the big stick. I think it's Obama. I think it's Susan Rice. I don't think it's Biden. Biden's a figurehead. I think Biden's a useless puppet.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he does. So Queen's Raiders say, anyone want to bet that either the CIA or the NSA has a copy of these recordings? Of course. Sure they do. Yeah. Gregory says, as a boy from Illinois originally, let me say that Durbin is something special.
Okay. You're not going to read into that at all.
I can't stand politicians like that. They never answer the question. It's so annoying. Great. Next time, just play Dancing Queen if you want to hear that.
I would get our video pulled, but that's a great call no matter what.
Queen's heard a party over country. Party over country. Yeah. Meaning Democrats over what's good for the country.
Yeah.
Clear and present danger.
Thank you, Queen's Raiders. That's the one I was looking for.
Yes. Now, over on Getter, Scott says he likes the shuffling before you come on the air because it lets you know something's about to happen. Hey, my friend John says we don't want Mitch to say anything.
It's a good point.
Let's see. He says maybe Biden has written an order forgiving his son for the federal form violation. I don't think he can do that. I think the most he can do is pardon Hunter should Hunter, be prosecuted on violating that form, which, by the way, Joe Biden talks about tightening up the gun laws, and his son clearly lied on a federal form. This isn't even an allegedly. I've filled those forms out before. You have to check if you are currently, addicted to anything. Have you used drugs? And he had to check no in order to get the permission to buy the gun, in order to get the permit to buy the gun. And we know at the time he was in the throes of some of his worst addiction. So at the time, That was a lie. I don't understand why it takes 5 years to investigate that.
Well, they're proving he had an addiction.
Yeah. But John says we love Ted. We love Ted Cruz. So I wanted to share that with you. And I've got a couple more things here. That took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but it always does. Just a little housekeeping. So tomorrow I will be on PHT in Philadelphia from 10 to noon. Short little, I'm filling in for Dawn Stensland. Then on Thursday, I'm gonna have to check my phone because I just got a text to see where I may be on Friday. Let me just see. It's Rob Carson. Are you on the air Friday? Thursday, I will be in for Todd Starnes from noon to 3. And then Friday, when I hear back from Rob, I'm either in for Rob Carson noon to 3 on Friday or Andrew Wilkow on Sirius XM Patriot from noon to 3. So it'll be one of those two. Don't know which one yet. Somewhere. I will be somewhere. Let's see. Bill says Cruz did a great job with the questions. FBI and DOJ are Biden's puppets. All they will do is go after Trump. Yeah. But see, now that's a good thing. Here's the thing. Trump's numbers keep going up. Every time he's indicted, Trump's numbers go up. He is now at his highest approval, especially among Republican voters. His numbers keep going up. He went to a cafe when he left the courthouse. He went to a cafe in Miami. He walks in, a bunch of the people in there get up. There was a Jewish guy, had a yarmulke on. There was another guy, and they got around him, which I'm sure made the Secret Service very nervous, and they prayed over him.
Oh.
And then they sang happy birthday to him, the people in the cafe. And when he was leaving, people were shouting, "God bless you, Donald Trump. God bless you, Mr. President. God bless you, President Trump." They were all, because I think people see this for what it is. I think it's something like about 50% of the country think that this is a political prosecution. And I'm willing to bet as this goes on, the number gets higher. And people don't like this. So the more they stonewall, are they making Trump a martyr?
I'm a prosecute both guy, but they are stonewalling. There's no doubt.
Right.
There's
and
no
look,
doubt.
they didn't.
I mean, if it's good for Trump, it's good for Biden. Is exactly where I'm at. You want to prosecute Trump, go after him, but then you have to go after Biden. There's way too much in the Hunter Biden thing for them not to be saying, well, we're only going after. It's ludicrous.
But if you go after Trump, why didn't you go after? How can you go after Trump if you didn't go after Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, agreed.
Right?
I want it. You know me. Hang them all if you have to. Prove it in court.
Don't say that. You're gonna get us taken off.
I meant figuratively.
Figuratively.
Like guillotine figuratively. You know what I mean? I'm just saying,
yeah.
go for all of these people. I would be really happy, and then see where the cards lay. Right? Prove your cards. Let Trump prove he's innocent, or let Trump prove he's guilty. Let Biden or Hunter Biden prove he's innocent. Let him prove he's guilty. Let Hillary prove she's innocent. Let her prove she's guilty. Like it's supposed to work, right? I mean,
no. But here's the thing: you're not supposed to prove your innocence. That's not the way it works. They have to prove you're guilty.
They're supposed to prove you're guilty, but what I mean.
Here's
I'm
the thing:
saying, give them their day in court. Is what I mean.
Ted Cruz is totally right.
Yeah.
Joe Biden can put an end to this. He can answer the question. Just release it.
Yeah, agreed.
If there's nothing there, if it's a non-classified document, put it out there. Redact the confidential human source's name, right? Redact the name of the Burisma executive if you want to. Put it out there.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, he's right. Like I said, I don't always agree with Cruz, but he's not wrong.
Yeah,
he's not wrong at all. Put it out there. If you're innocent, why would you in any way be trying to stop this from happening if you're innocent? I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Hey, man, if you're not guilty, take your day in court.
Sherry says, I think it's insane how Democrats in Florida hate DeSantis so much. They were able to enjoy and live their lives all through COVID because of DeSantis. I think they don't like him because he's challenging Trump. I think that's what, and I think the other reason, I think Floridians don't want to lose DeSantis as governor. They like him as their governor. They don't want to lose him to the presidency. They want to keep him as the governor. I think that's why. I could be wrong. Go after Obama too. Obama, though, he didn't take documents. Now, was Obama involved in the spying of Trump? Absolutely. Did he know what was going on? Yes, he did. So that's a whole different investigation. That's never going to happen. 20 years down the road, I may be dead, And that's when some of this stuff will start coming out. Biden's going to be long gone before the truth of this really comes to light. Same thing with Hillary Clinton, the whole bit. Clinton Foundation, they stopped that investigation. Nothing to see here.
Clinton's wield a
Karine
big stick, don't they?
Yep. Karine Jean-Pierre violated the Hatch Act. Remember that when they went after Kellyanne Conway, and they went after every spokesperson, Jenna Ellis, they went after Kayleigh McEnany, they went after all of them. Oh, you violated the Hatch Act. Remember they were screaming about that? Karine Jean-Pierre was found she did violate the Hatch Act, but she didn't mean to. So it happens. So just let it go. They have every excuse in the book. Sherry says you can't rely on the courts to handle any of this because they only pursue one side. Even if Trump is guilty, it doesn't matter because there is no investigation towards the left. Yeah. But again, my question is, what is happening? Are they waking people up? Because I said, when I build this, I said, I think the pendulum's swinging the other way. I think they've gone too far. I think they've pushed their hand too far with this, with pride. You saw what was happening on the lawn of the White House yesterday when they had a big pride event. They had the pride flag in the middle and the American flag on the side. That violates U.S. flag code. No flag hangs higher than the United States flag, unless, of course, you're bowing to the pride flag.
That does seem to be an odd thing, then, not into the flag order.
Yeah, but that's what they did. And then there was a transgender woman, so a dude who has fake breasts, and they look like fake breasts, and on the lawn of the White House takes down the top of his white sundress, puts his hands over here, and then takes a picture with the White House in the background.
Do you have that picture for me? Or
It's a dude. And standing next to him with a beard and everything is a transgender woman takes her shirt off, showing her mastectomy scars where she, took her breasts off, topless on the lawn of the White House. And these are the people. I'm sorry.
It sounds like a party.
Yeah, but these are the people who said that Trump wasn't presidential. Can you imagine if Trump had a party where people were running around on the lawn of the White House and topless?
Could we get Biden in a dress?
Do you really want to see that?
Come on, don't you?
No, I don't.
That'd be the best picture all night.
I mean,
that's what I'm waiting for,
Yeah, I mean,
come out all sassy,
they had Kamala Harris was our president for a couple of hours. Yeah, I think yesterday, because Joe Biden had to go have an emergency root canal because apparently he doesn't brush his teeth, and he has apparently the diet of like an 8-year-old. He eats spaghetti with butter or plain red sauce. And he eats ice cream and like chicken tenders, and he has the diet of a child.
That sounds pretty good right now, though. Maybe not every day, but it sounds pretty good right now. I mean, this moment.
Right.
In this moment, not every day.
So here's another place where I think they're pushing too far, and this is why I think the pendulum's swinging back. What's going on with the war on religion. And remember years ago, you and I talked about this when we did the old show. We talked about the war on Christmas, and you're like, and you poo-pooed it. But what's happening now with Catholics, they're coming after Catholics now. You see them going after with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and how these people are being honored on the floor of the state capitol in California. Okay. And these are men who mock religious garb of Catholics, who take the liturgy of the Holy Mass, of the consecration, and they bastardize that language, and they use a condom instead of a Eucharist, and they use a crucifix as a stripper pole in public, and they're being honored on the floor of the State House in California. Churches that are being vandalized, that are being destroyed, that are being having their statues desecrated and smashed. No investigations by the DOJ or the FBI into any of it.
There's always people at the Catholic Church, though.
I'm sorry?
There's some rightfully angry people at the Catholic Church.
Okay, you know what? And somebody said that to me too. But here's the thing.
I'm not saying destroyed property, but I'm just saying.
No. I know what you're saying because somebody got into it with me today. Here's my thing. Did some of those things happen a long time, decades ago? Yes, it did. Did it come to light afterwards? Yes, it did. My problem with that is twofold. Number one, the Catholic Church just said, oh, okay, here's money. They never demanded investigation. Anybody that came forward, they paid money to. So anybody could come forward and say, oh, I was sexually molested. And in order to make it go away, they just threw money at them instead of standing up and going, okay, let's open an investigation. Let's have a criminal investigation into this, because they just piled up and piled up and piled up because it was a bottomless pit of money. So that was the first thing. How many of those were legit? We will never, ever know.
No.
But like the story of this country, if you castigate the Catholic Church and you go after them and say, oh, well, it's a terrible organization, they have their problems, there's a lot of people rightfully so. Look at the story of this country. They can say that. How many people on the left say this is a terrible country because of slavery, and we need reparations, and we need to make amends, and this country's terrible because of something that other people did a generation ago, but in the case of this country, 200 years ago. The story of this country is that we acknowledge that it was bad. We're the only country on the face of the planet that fought a civil war for which thousands and thousands of people died, hundreds of thousands, right, of people died in order to right that wrong. The Catholic Church acknowledged that what happened was wrong. They paid out millions and millions of dollars in order to try to right it, and they've moved on. So do we not isn't the story of America is that we make ourselves better? And isn't it the same thing now for every organization, or can you pick and choose?
I'm sure you can pick and choose because, it's America and you're allowed to be mad at who you want to be mad at. But again, to my original point, none of that, no matter how you feel about what they did in the past or what the South did in the past or whatever, at some point, it doesn't mean you can have violence, right? Like desecrating the church is any of those kind of things. Or look, you don't like what somebody did, you can take that anger with you for life, right? It's what we used to talk about, the difference between what they're calling like hate speech now and what we used to call not liking, right? I mean, you don't have to like something. You can complain about it all you want. You can talk to your blue in the face on your podcast on a microphone. You can say all the bad things about some organization you want. But when it starts becoming okay to be like, we'll give them a pass for their anger because they desecrated something, then you're moving into a different territory, right?
Or when you bring them on
pass. Nobody should get past that.
Don't you think bringing them on the floor of the California State House and giving them an award for the good work that they do when they show up mocking Catholic nuns and mocking garb? Would you do that? Would it be okay if they showed up dressed as a bunch of Jews and they were mocking them and they had stereotypical Jewish names, Rabbi Moshe Masha, whatever? No, people wouldn't be okay with it. They certainly wouldn't do it to Muslims. And they take, again, they bastardize, they take the Holy Eucharist, they take the consecration and the words of the Mass and bastardize it and mock it. And we put the government gives them a medal?
Seems questionable. To your other question, I'm not saying every Muslim's violent, but do you remember the couple people that, made fun of the Quran and then people came after them? So there is a thing to not do that, because even if it's an overblown threat, I'm sure people think twice. But the Catholics don't come out and beat people with sticks.
Exactly.
Right? They don't kill you for making fun of the Bible. So, in fact, if you read the Bible, they should be turning the other cheek, right? You should be trying to educate those people that hate you. So, I will say Catholics do a pretty bad job of that one too. They're not great at that.
I don't know if Obama was fined for having documents. I looked this up today, Sherry, and I got to tell you, I couldn't find it. Fine for documents.
And I do think, to Sherry's point, it would be what documents you have, right? If you have highly restricted classified documents.
Here we go.
Oh, if Obama has them, bad, terrible. I'm just saying. It's a thing.
Obama spent $36 million on lawsuits to keep information secret. In the final year in office, they spent a record $36.2 million on legal costs defending its refusal to turn over federal records under FOIA. That's different. That's a different thing. The Obama administration set a record for times federal employees told citizens, journalists, and others that despite searching, they couldn't find a single page of files that were requested. So that's different than his private records that Trump is accused of taking. They're
saying that documents don't exist.
Right. There were while he was president, federal FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests.
Yep.
Right. According to Post Millennial, at the end of Obama's presidency, he trucked 30 million admin pages gathered during his time to his office in Chicago, where he promised to digitize them. But years since the end of his presidency, National Archives state 0 of the extra 39 million pages have been scanned. Obama documents, Chicago to scan. Okay, the claim. The claim is that oh, come on, no.
Okay.
The claim is President Barack Hussein Obama kept 33 million pages of documents, much of them classified. How many of them pertain to nuclear? Word is lots. Okay. The National Archives and Record Administration gained custody of Obama's documents in 2017, according to their statement. It transferred 30 million unclassified records to a facility in Chicago, and Obama had no say in the process. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard that was not true. The archive said in an August 12th statement, this goes back to years, that they assumed exclusive legal and physical custody of Obama's presidential records when he left office in 2017 as part of the Presidential Records Act of 1978. And a follow-up statement in September noted that that included all classified documents. So whether he really did or they're just covering for him, I don't know. Obama's truck was hijacked as it traversed the Dan Ryan Expressway. Okay. Let's see. Scott says a leaving president taking documents home is always a thing they can try to complain about. Yeah, they're allowed to do that. So, but anyway, what I was going to say is in California, their first Muslim assembly member, Bill Esseley, walked out of the legislature during the Drag Day, this day-long celebration at the state capitol, as they honored the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence because of what they've done. He walked off the legislature floor holding a sign that read, "Religious bigotry is bigotry," as the group was being honored. And he did an interview with the Daily Caller, and he said, "As a member of a minority faith in the U.S., I know what religious bigotry looks like. I know what caricatures of a faith look like. I know what it's like when people make fun of you for having certain beliefs. And that's why when I saw this group and the way they mocked Christianity, specifically Catholics, by exaggerating their wardrobe or by these outrageous displays using crosses and Jesus, I say it's just highly, highly offensive. I really believe all of faith is under attack. And today's Catholics might be tomorrow's Jews, and the day after that, the Muslims. It's a very dangerous precedent."
It does seem out of place at a Capitol building, right? And to his point, right? Mocking any faith at a Capitol building seems out of place.
The government should not be honoring them when Sam Brinton, the guy who was, no longer in the Obama administration, in the Biden administration, because he's, been arrested, finally arrested because he was considered a fugitive from justice when he was stealing all of the luggage, that guy.
Yeah.
He was head of the DC chapter, and Joe Biden calls himself a Catholic. How can you have somebody like that in your administration? I don't understand. You would never have them in your administration if they mocked gay people.
No.
You would never have them in anyone's administration if they mocked black people, right? And they walked around,
or just about any other minority on the planet. Yeah.
Exactly. But
or
it's
even
okay
any ethnicity for that matter. I think it's a lot safer to mock a religion than an ethnicity at this point.
And it's only certain religions are okay to mock versus others. Right? Some are acceptable, some are not. Sherry, what has that group done for the community? They keep saying that they've done so much good. Yeah, I got nothing. Yeah. I don't know.
I would be curious. Maybe something. I don't know. I actually don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they have any real community ties to say.
Well, they're being honored, but they're also being honored by the Dodgers, or they were honored by the Dodgers. It's a charity, protest, and street performance organization that uses drag and religious imagery to satirize issues of sex, gender, and moral perpetuity, particularly Christian perspectives, really Catholic perspectives on these topics, to fundraise for charity. That's what they do. They fundraise for charity.
Okay.
By mocking Catholics.
If they legitimately raise a lot of money, maybe Catholics turn the other cheek. But if they don't raise a lot of money and you find out it's a shady organization to begin with, makes it even a bigger mockery.
I still don't think it's the way to raise money. Listen,
well, of
if
course
I can raise a lot of money by throwing on some blackface and doing a minstrel show, is that okay? Because I'm raising money for charity. Maybe it's all right.
Yeah, what if it was to get minorities out of prison?
I personally think that someone's going to kill you.
Well, yeah. No, I didn't say you weren't going to die. I'm just saying if you did all that good to make money to help those people, the minorities in prison, you still might die, but you'll go down as a martyr.
Yeah, because no one would put up with it.
No.
Gregory, Joe must go to confession each and every day of his life. Does anybody think Joe has any clue where he is? No. All right. We're running. All right. So here's another reason why I say, so that's one reason why I think that opinion's starting to swing in the other direction, because the government now is endorsing mocking certain religions, and the government's not supposed to do that. A PRI poll was done March 9th through the 23rd. They had more than 5,000 adults responded. It has a margin of error of 1.5% either way. So that's pretty good. It's an online poll. And they found a significant increase between 2021 and 2023 of Americans across all demographics who say that people are either male or female. So the tolerance for there's 4,000 genders has gone down in a mere 2 years. And I think it's because people are like, all right, you know what? No. XXXY. You can play at being another gender. That's fine. I truly don't care. And I know you don't either. But please don't tell me that you're not what you biologically are. You can't change that. When they dig up your bones 1,000 years from now, even though there's no name, they will know based on the bones and the bone structure whether you were male or female, A or B. They're not going to know that you were a woman who cut off your breasts and had a fake phallus pinned on you and paraded around like a dude. They'll never know that. They're going to say, oh, it was a female.
This is going to get very different, though, for the universe when trans men start having children.
But they're not men. They're still women. Only women can biologically have
I understand, but I'm just saying the confusing part in the world and the way most of this has become through our time. I mean, legitimately through our time was
in 2 years.
No, I'm just saying about hold the phone. I'm just saying in 20 years, if you have a massive population of people who are comfortable being men having children while their wives are, providing the sperm, and that grows up in families. You just see where I'm saying, like, there's an inevitable tide. I don't know how much you can slow.
You can confuse the issue, but the bottom line is we should believe the science. That's what the left told me, that I was a science denier during COVID and I should believe the science. And the science says that only women's hips and women's pelvises are built to open. The pelvis opens when a woman has a child, etc. You can put a fake uterus or take a uterus out of a dead woman and put it into a man. He will not be able to pass that child through his pelvis because he is built differently than a woman.
And look, none of this bothers me as long as you're not saying things like science and math are racist or transphobic or whatever nonsense you want to say, because I honestly don't care who decides they're going to raise their family and how they're going to do it. It's not my responsibility to do that. My job is not to think who wants to do that. What I do want to do, though, is, like you said, have honest discussions and use words like science and math without being like, well, you can't use science and math in this discussion. That's
that's what they say. You can't use science.
That's transphobic. Well, of course, It's insane, right?
It's insanity.
We end up fighting over words because, again, like you said, you and I don't care. It's the words that were surrounding all this that sometimes get foggy and weird, and you can't have an honest discussion about it. No matter what the outcome's going to be, you should be able to have a real discussion based off the facts in front of you. We get about this in politics too, right? You can't even take the facts anymore and hold them up to people, right? You said, Joe Biden lied on his gun laws. That's not. There's
Hunter.
No miscommunication. Hunter. You know what I mean? Like, there's no miscommunication there. The facts are the facts. We all see it. You can read it on paper. It's done, right? Like the laptop. It turns out all of it was there, right? The facts are the facts. Now, you can try and hide them. You can not like them. You can like your team better than another team. But at the end of the day, if you can't sit here and look at the facts, we have a real problem with conversations in the universe. If you can't look at facts and go, well, this is what's happening. See? You see it. You see it. I see it.
Right.
That's a problem across the board.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the problem is they control the language. But the bottom line is my point with all of this is that people don't like that push on the language. People don't like the term cisgender instead of straight. Like that's what we've always heard, straight, gay, that's it. Now it's cisgendered. Why? Why is it cisgendered? Why do we have to use that word now instead of straight? What is that about? And that's kind of ridiculous. Let's see. Jerry says men can't give birth no matter how well manufactured their broderus is. By the way, I want to thank our new subscriber, Jay Downin. And Sherry made some comments as well. And we got our other subscribers last week. So, okay, thank you. But see, my point is, but this is what I'm saying. They're pushing too far with this because most Americans are going to go, you can have a beard. Like the bearded lady is no longer in the freak show anymore. The bearded lady is now on the cover of Vogue. You know what I mean? So we've truly become just a parody. We're not a serious country anymore. We are just a crap show of it's just like mental illness on parade in this country now.
Or
as far
coming over words for no good reason.
Oh,
Right?
well, yeah, exactly, because they insist that I use their words, and I refuse to do that. And here's the thing. In 2021, Gen Z, 43% of Gen Z, 51% of millennials were more closely aligned with each other on this question than they were with Gen X, 65%, baby boomers, 62%, and the silent generation, 68%. But in 2023, Gen Z saw a jump in the belief that there were only two genders. 57% of Gen Z says two genders. So my point is this good news? Because is the pendulum starting to swing back the other way, even among Gen Z?
Maybe.
You know, they're like, no. And they're the ones who are inundated with this stuff. Like they're the ones who hear this nonstop.
Oh, I mean, I hear if you're working like a public square anymore, it's very different than when you and I used to work in those kind of public spaces.
Right. You've got a Gallup shows that more people are saying that your birth gender should dictate your sports team that you play on. More and more people are saying biological women should be on the biological women's team, biological men should be on the biological men's team. It doesn't matter whether you're running in a skirt with your ears pierced and just because you grew your hair long. More and more people now are saying that that's a no-no. Because I think that the left has pushed too far with all of this. They're tired of men with a bulge in his swimsuit standing up on the podium going, yay, I won. When everybody's like, you're a dude. I can see it right there. Big Jim and the Twins. You're a dude.
You can't argue physical differences. There's no doubt.
Right.
I'd heard it said that it doesn't matter that when you make the transfer, I'm sure I'm using the wrong language here, that you lose enough testosterone that it doesn't matter. But I don't feel like that accounts for like body build, you know. And
right.
There's a lot of, at the very least, you should be allowed to have this discussion without being called trans.
So your testosterone levels may be lower, but the fact is if you went through puberty, your lungs are bigger. Men's lungs have more lung capacity. Their muscles are still denser than women's muscles. They have more muscle mass than women do as proportionate to their body. Their hearts are bigger, right? So they have the body of a man if they've gone through puberty. It's just the way it is. And if there was no difference, then why don't women who have transitioned into men or say that they're men, why don't we see women playing on the men's teams if there's no difference?
Yeah.
Why doesn't that ever happen? It never does. You never see biological women going, I'm playing on the men's football team.
Well, just think that used to be like movie titles, like G.I. Jane, or what was that movie about the woman that tried to play men's football? Like there's always been like back in the day, like some kind of thing, like women want to prove that we can be men. And now it just sort of seems different where, you know, right. You have men who are like, I can defeat a bunch of women.
Right. I mean, women could play sometimes on football teams as the kicker. Yeah. As the kicker. Just like the man does. He just goes on, kicks, and walks off. Just so the women does the same thing, right? Jerry says, I disagree. The bearded lady still belongs in the damn freak show. Scott says, I've heard recently there's science in the works for a woman to have a baby without a man. Bottom line, you still need the sperm. Still need the dude. Sorry, kids. No matter how much you don't like it, it's the way it is. Lastly, my last piece that the tide is turning, and you can disagree with me and then I'll let you go. The New York Times chief political analyst is named Nate Cohn. And there was a book written in 2002 that said that they made the case for an emerging Democratic majority. And they said that they would have, Democrats would have total control of the government after Obama's presidency, right? They said this is what it is, and this was going to happen. And they wrote it in 2002. Obama became president in 2008, and they had the House and the Senate, and they're like, see, we were right. This is going to be forever because of the younger generations, how it's going to go. Well, he wrote on Thursday in the New York Times that while millennials overwhelmingly backed Obama, only half of those same voters who are now in their 30s and early 40s voted for Joe Biden in 2020, according to the Times. Exit polls show even a more drastic shift, with Biden winning by just 51 to 45 among voters who were 18 to 27 in 2008. So that's the millennials. The same group of voters, quote, preferred Democratic congressional candidates by just 10 points in last year's midterms. Cohn wrote that the findings may not seem stunning. While they may not seem stunning, almost every cohort of voters under 50 has shifted to the right over the last 10 years. For at least 20 years, liberal academics and pundits have argued that a coalition of the ascendant, meaning young voters, particularly Blacks, Hispanics, and women, would enshrine Democrats as an eternal majority. That has not come to pass. The two authors of that book in 2002 now say that the Democrats and the Democratic brand are in deep trouble. In addition to Cohn's finding, exit polls show Latino and Black voters have slowly but significantly shifted rightward. Some of the issues that drew in millennials in 2008, like the Iraq War or same-sex marriage, are no longer issues. And Republicans have won voters by colorblind messaging on race, and they have become the anti-establishment party.
Interesting to see where this goes. We got a year left before it happens.
It is interesting, but it's true. If you want to be, like when you're in that rebellious stage of life, right? Like, what do you do? Do you become the authoritarian? Like, yeah, more government, man, right?
like being a 50-year-old in a punk band, like down with the government, and I need some tea. Like
exactly.
Like at some point you're not really the anti-establishment anymore. Right.
Right. So if you want to be cool and hip, you're anti-establishment, right? Like be against the crowd, be different. Don't be part of the braying masses. They become militarized though with this generation. That's the difference. Bernie Sanders generation, they're a bunch of hippies high on dope and hate Ashbury, right?
Right.
This generation, they're militant and dressing in black bloc and clubbing people.
God,
it's a little different.
It happened in England. I can't think of the musician from the Sex Pistols who they were talking to.
Johnny Rotten.
Might have been Johnny Rotten they were talking to. Yeah, because there's a couple left that are still left that aren't dead. And he was saying
Johnny Rotten's dead though, isn't he? Oh no, Sid Vicious is dead.
Sid Vicious is dead. Yeah, Johnny Rotten. It was Johnny Rotten. Yeah. Thank you. So he was saying they were talking about that God Save the Queen thing they have and like all the anti-establishment stuff. And he was saying like, hey man, I'm old now. Like, good for the Queen. Like here's the Queen. I'm not a 15-year-old screaming on the stage. I'm certainly paraphrasing. I'm making my point. Like,
right.
His whole point was like, you change over time, and like it's insane to think that you could have that same message from when you were 18 and carry that into your 60s.
Right. Exactly. Well, Bernie Sanders did it.
Yeah, look, he's one of the few I convincingly believe is that way. Maybe he's taken a lot of acid and he's stuck to his thing. A couple people in their lives have stuck to their thing a whole life, and that's okay.
He didn't stick to his thing. That's such a load of horse crap. He's a
$5-6 million.
Right. He's a multimillionaire with 3 homes, one of them on an island in Lake Champlain with, more than 100 yards or whatever it is of waterfront. So come on. He didn't stick to it. He just still doesn't, he combs his hair with a balloon still. That's it. Yeah, he just looks the look, but he talks the talk. He doesn't walk the walk. He's a hypocrite.
There's a shot.
I know. Scott says that they're saying that that no sperm needed. They said, yeah, I don't know how you come up with a baby with no sperm. I'm sorry. And you know what? If they're trying to engineer it, that's now you're talking freak freak zone stuff, right? Like
Cloning can't be too far around the corner, right? Little AIs and cloning, we're good to go.
yeah, I don't want to be alive when that happens. Do you?
I kind of want the chip in the brain. I'm curious how it works. What's the worst that happens? I expire? I mean, look, I'm already 50. Put the chip in my head.
You're getting married. You have a life ahead of you with your beautiful bride who's, you know, although it would be better, I guess, if you die a little bit younger so she doesn't have to change your diaper and, you know, feed you your ice cream. And she doesn't have to be Jill Biden to your Joe.
And I'm just saying, if anybody's a long-term fan of the show or Mary at all, you'll remember she might need a chip in her brain too.
Why?
I love her, but I mean, you know, she might need a chip.
Why would I need a chip? They're not putting a chip in my brain. I didn't even get the vaccine. I am pure-blooded.
No, you said I'm married to Tina. I said Tina might need a chip in her brain.
You said Mary.
I'm sorry. See what? See, I need the chip in my brain. I need this chip real bad. You gotta get something that helps me process. I'm calling it. I got the work wife and the fiance, Mick. I can't do this now. I need a chip. I need a chip.
That's funny. That's funny. So, all right.
I get it. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get out of here. Please subscribe to the channel if you've not done so. Please like the podcast. Go back, watch older podcasts. The audio will be up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify within about an hour. Tomorrow, I will be on PHT in Philly from 10 to noon. Thursday, I will be on I'll be in for Todd Starnes on the Todd Starnes Show, noon to 3. And I'm assuming that I'm going to be, so I'm going to be in for Andrew Wilkow on Sirius XM Patriot Channel on Friday, noon to 3. Also, if you're online, look up Barrett News Media. Okay. They just did a story on me. And it dropped today. Yeah, it dropped today. So I've tweeted it out. So follow me if you look for Mary Walter Radio on Twitter. I tweeted it out. I'm going to put it up on Facebook as well. But it was like 6 pages long if you print it out. It was like an incredible little story about my career. So thank you to Barrett News Media. So go check that out if you have not done so. So thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Let me get this started, get the music started. Off we go. And thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on next Tuesday. Here's 7:15 on Mary Walter Radio. Is that the one that ate the cord?
This might be the one that ate the cord, yeah. Might be.
Yeah, well, you need those casings over it so that they don't eat, or put that bad tasting stuff on there so they don't eat that stuff anymore.
Exactly.
All right. Exactly. Bye, everybody. Take care. Let's get you out of here.